Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, the lighting in this room, webcams don't like it, but yeah, hopefully it looks all right for the video. But yeah, everyone, welcome to the podcast. We we didn't have any guests scheduled for any other games today, so we figured we should talk to the man himself who owns Pirates Ahoy, and you've been a big part of the community for a long time, like way before I got on or DH got on or anything. Uh, so so do I? I'm just curious. Do I say your name Peter or just like Piter, or how am I supposed to be saying that?
It looks a bit weird because it's Dutch, of course, but you say it just as Pieter.
Okay, just say it as Peter. Okay. Yep, that's
Pieter,
perfectly
Pieter
fine.
Boelen.
Peter
Pieter,
Peter Bowen. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Boelen.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't like anything I was missing there. But yeah, no,
No,
great
it
to
looks
have you
way.
on. I see you're appropriately dressed in pirate fashion.
I thought it would be a fun little thing to do today.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, that's I mean, hey, definitely the occasion for it. I should get some stuff myself so that maybe I can dress up for some of these podcasts since I end up posting so many of them. But yeah, so how how long have you been with Pirates Ahoy at this point?
Well, you can still find my very first post on the forum. I think it was called Questions, Comments, and Suggestions. And yeah, that was in 2004. So I've been there for 19 years now.
No, oh yeah, yeah. That sounds about right because it has been around for. I mean, yeah, the forum's been around forever now. It seems like. I I mean, forum was a few years old when I joined back in like 2009, 2010. I was only like 15 then. Now I'm 28, have a house and everything. So it's uh it's crazy about the how long it's been around. So yeah, so what do you so I the one thing I guess I've always liked about Pirates Ahoy is that we've always been a real friendly community here, and I think you've been a big part of that because like you just keep a very optimist or like very positive tone with everyone, and it felt natural for you to become kind of the person who owns the site. um like I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on everything I just said there?
First of all, thank you very kindly for the compliment. I'll gladly take that to heart. Yeah, actually, the as the story goes, I've always been crazy about ships ever since I was a tiny little kiddie. And then when I was in secondary school, we got a Windows 98 computer, I think it was, and my father found this virtual sailor simulator on the internet, and I downloaded that, started playing around with it, got in touch with the community. Eventually, I have made a very big website for it with all the ships and all the sceneries. Then I got in touch with an old Spanish sea captain called Andres Merino. And he was kind enough to actually send me physical copies of 3D modeling software. And then I made some ships for that. You can still find them. I put them on the Pirates Ahoy server now. But actually, what happened in the community is that things started to turn sour. When I first joined, it was a really friendly place. We were all supportive of each other. We had a ton of fun. There was one guy who couldn't contribute much, but he was continuously asking questions about where are the toilets. That was his thing. So you'll notice on my final two ships that on the cargo ship I put a toilet, and on the toilet paper I wrote, "Here you go, Larry." That was the name of the guy. And then
Nice.
when I made a cruise ship, I made a whole big toilet block with like 3 toilets. So we had a ton of fun, and we had I think it was someone from Poland who was making every I can't remember every week or every month he was making a virtual sailor magazine with reviews of the new ships and stories that he experienced on his sailings. And I hosted those on my virtual sailor shipyard website. You can still find a bunch of them. And yeah, we had the best of times. But as I said, the community started to turn sour, and actually it was so stupid because I had this big website with a lot of ships, and then somebody else from Scandinavia, she also made a big website, a much newer base based on actual databases instead of just pure plain HTML. And that started to drive the community into factions. There was the pro Pieter faction and the pro the other person faction, and the factions were kind of warring with each other. And it's like, and I'm there. There's people like supporting me in this war, and I'm like, stop fighting, you idiots! But I couldn't stop them, so eventually I was living in Lelystad by that time. I originally came from Amsterdam. But I remained studying in Amsterdam, so I was traveling back and forth, and I had to change trains in Almere. It was, and it was a long transfer time. So and there was this Intertoys toy store very close to the train station. So I thought, okay, let me just go inside and have a look. And I was browsing through the bargain bin, and guess what? Pirates of the Caribbean. And I had just seen the Curse of the Black Pearl movie, thought it was excellent, and I think I had heard some vague stories here and there about Pirates of the Caribbean and Sea Dogs. I always thought it sounded interesting, so I picked it up. And then I started playing it, had a good time. Discovered that there was mods, and then I started cobbling together little mods of different people. I found Pirates Ahoy, and at the time they were on build 10. This was I don't know, end of 2003, beginning 2004, thereabouts. And as it turns out, build 10 did not work on European game versions. It was just specifically made for the American release. So that is a beautiful thing, and I couldn't use it. Bugger, bugger, bugger. So I was stuck with my own bit of cobblestone. But then they released build 11, and that one worked on all different nation releases. And that's where the whole thing started. So I started playing it and started getting involved. Started again putting different people's mods together, and before you knew it, I had made an installer for build 12, and then I was making the post build 12 zip, which is pretty much what Grey Roger is doing for me now. And then it kept going until the build 12 zip just expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded, which turned into build 13. That was my first proper installer. The first build 12 one was just a WinZip self-extracting exe. And then, yeah, that's where the real big progress started. I think that's the where you
I
joined
think
too.
yeah, it's funny. I this is all before I joined, even because when I joined, I think build 13 was basically done, and build 14 was an alpha or something like that. So this is all cool to hear, because this is before when I came on. And it's funny you brought up that the original build mod only supported the North American releases, because it seems like our community, or the community now, is just like, it's just mostly European. Like, it's
Yeah, it
there's
seems
it's
that way.
just
You're the odd duck out. You are.
yeah, no, definitely. I sometimes I feel like I'm the only American in the room when I'm talking sometimes, which I don't have an issue with that. I'm just I think it's kind of cool, actually. But like, um but yeah, no, and I think and it's interesting. I didn't know there was that little bit of drama where like you had a couple, you and someone else on the forum who had some people uh just kind of getting into certain things, but yeah, and it's just, and it's just, I don't know, it's just funny because I don't see why anyone would ever argue over anything for you because you're just such an amicable person. I just, I don't know. I find it silly, but no, yeah, it's but yeah, Pirates Ahoy, just for me personally, is actually what kind of, I guess to go into my backstory and how I how I got to know the Pirates of the Caribbean and the build mod and everything. When I was 8 years old, or no, yeah, I was about 8 years old, and I got the Xbox version originally, actually.
Oh,
Well, but I was a kid. I had an Xbox. I didn't have a gaming PC at the time or anything. Um, so I just, but I fell in love with the game still. And it was just, and then I saw like when I got my first like laptop or whatever, I'm like, oh, cool. There's a PC version or whatever. And I looked up online. I think I was just looking up to see if there were like any discussions or anyone who still knew about the game or whatever, because it had been a few years at that point. I was a teenager at that point. And then I found Pirates Ahoy. I'm like, oh wow, there's a whole forum dedicated to this. I wasn't expecting that. I remember being a little surprised. I'm like, oh wow. And then I saw there was a build mod, and I'm like, wait, this adds all this stuff. And I'm just like, I remember just being impressed at all of it. And some of the people who I remember being the most active at that time, um I'm trying to think back a little bit. I remember Armada was a big one. Talisman. Those are some of the big ones.
yeah,
Um,
Talisman. He did
the
all the quest walkthroughs.
yeah.
Good man.
And then highly pissed off. He named him highly pissed off. It was just that was a
Such a clever
clever plan.
name.
Dude. Yeah. No, that was funny. But no, I mean I remember all those people. And yeah, it's just I kind of I think I contributed like a few dialogue files or something. I can't even remember what at this point. Um,
Well,
but but
let me see if I
I
can find
got
your name in the changelog.
I it was something. I
Yeah,
can't even
no
remember.
problem.
I think it may have been something that I did kind of a bad job on, so it had to be rewritten anyway. Because it was my first foray into programming and stuff. But and but seeing you and the community so enthusiastic about it, along with just seeing like what even just kind of like a community of people who just essentially are working on something in their free time can do, that you know that that was definitely one of the big things that inspired me to look into IT and whatnot. And I think I was actually kind of instrumental in that. So I yeah, I just kind of wanted to give you my little backstory too, which actually I think I've told you. I think I've actually told you all this. But yeah, no, and it's yeah, and it's cool. It's cool seeing you on here. If you don't mind me asking in the podcast, like, and I'm just curious because I just want to know how many years of age difference there is. Because, like, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 37.
30. Oh, okay. You're younger than I thought. Well, because I thought you were like 10 or 12 years older than me. I'm 28. So
Not too bad then. I do start
yeah,
to
I
feel
turned.
a bit old.
Yeah, I thought you were at least
Oh
40 for some reason. But
well, I'm
but
getting
yeah,
close.
yeah. Well, it's weird for me getting close to 30 too, so you're not alone there. Um, but uh, but yeah, and and then I think DH is younger than both of us.
I'm
But
25.
yeah,
The
that's
young
right. I
kids
think you
on the
mentioned
board.
that. Yeah, but But yeah, no, everyone feel free to submit your questions here. We'll go through them. I see Officer Puppy already has asked one. What's and then like yeah, so it's crazy now. It's kind of cool though. Though I guess the one last thing I wanted to bring up before we just start answering questions. Just it's kind of crazy how it's just continuously evolved. And I guess one thing that's impressed me too is like I was a little surprised to see such a big community for it, or I say big, but like I guess active is what I mean by that. Such an active community around the game, even just like 6 years later when I got on, and then now, I mean, it's crazy. I didn't think Pirates Ahoy would be around for 20 years actively in some form. And and I think a big, and I definitely and I kind of came back a couple of years ago because I wanted I just had a feeling like, oh, I should come back. And then I saw Hammy was making the build 15, and I've been helping test that. um, yeah, I just I that's definitely something I'm wanting to do because that new engine is so much better. It's less limited and whatnot. So and well, shoot, there are certain things like like in that engine, the sidestepping without clipping, is now a thing. And it's just things that because I remember one common thing that was always said on the forum about like certain issues like that were like, oh well, there's our engine limitations, we can't go past the engine. I
Well,
remember
that's for
that.
trying. I
And
can't tell you that much.
oh no, yeah, I mean, and I'm not sure. And yeah, you guys definitely. Well, you did things that even I think you've said on previous occasion that the original developers were a little surprised to see we did. Um, but it but it's but now it's crazy the amount of engines we have for it and whatnot. And and there's I mean there's the Maelstrom version, and now there's the Storm X version, which is build 15. When Caribbean Legends launches, that's going to be a new engine that maybe we can play with or whatever. I think Hammy actually wants to upgrade it to that engine, so I mean that'll be cool.
Yeah,
That
from what I understand, the Caribbean Legend is built also on the open source engine, but they made some temporarily closed source upgrades still, and they'll. I think I heard Joey Bass say that he will release the source code when the game goes live.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that. Around that time. Yeah.
yeah, I think he said like a few weeks or something, but yeah, so yeah, it's just it's kind of cool though too, because I mean that's always I matter of fact I remember asking you back in like this was back in like 2010, 2011, mind you. So and I remember asking you like, hey, can we like what's any plans to update the engine or whatnot? And back then we just thought that'd be an impossible task. It just never happened. But it's just I don't know. I guess it's just I guess my point in all that is just saying like it's cool to see how far things have come, and how I mean it's still going further because I mean shoot, you look in the Git because because now that we have that new engine, you know we have yeah, I mean I've been putting some ideas on there for like things that I've seen on the forum that we couldn't do before due to certain engine things. And like I put a couple of my own ideas, and I think a couple other people put their ideas. So I mean it's really shaping up because now I mean we're so much less limited. And yeah, it's so I'm excited for the next few years, honestly, because I think and with all these podcasts bringing all this attention too, I think we could see a bit of a resurgence. And now the fact, like, I mean, shoot, we have it available on itch.io now. I mean, that's a big thing, and that's, I mean, so now we have a launcher because they have a launcher. So, and we can auto update our game and stuff. And that's just, I mean, all of that is wild to me. And yeah, I guess, I don't know. I guess part of this is just me geeking out at how far we've come, and yeah, and even though I never had an initial interest in like ships and naval enthusiast stuff, like this community kind of gave me that, and I've learned so much through this community. It's like because like you just well, I mean, just by going through the forums and just by going through discussions and even by playing the game, you just learn so much. And I think kind of commitment to keep things generally like as realistic as we can, that's been nice too, because just it teaches you a lot. Um, what do you before we start what was I going to say? Before we start answering questions, what are what was the overall philosophy towards realism throughout the build mod and whatnot? I think I have an idea of what you'll say here, but I'm just curious, like throughout the whole project, what's been the kind of philosophy in terms of how realistic we keep the game?
Well, for sure. Even before I joined the community, people were interested in adding realism to the game. So remember, I think it was KB who reprogrammed the cannonball ballistics to be more realistic. I think Nathan Kell was the one who put in the historically accurate effect of raking, which I've been mentioning in some of my Peter Plays videos, which is when you have one ship like this. This is the stern or the bow, and then you come like this, and you can shoot with all your cannons through the entire length of the ship, and that just hurts like hell. That's a strategy they really applied back in those days, and Nathan Kell programmed it in so that if you try it in the game, you also do extra damage. That's some realism right there. Another classic was when they changed it so you cannot reload your pistol while having your saber in your hand. It also makes sense. That was some of the early realism work to be done. Then as time progressed, we both built on the fantasy and on the realism. So we put in all the different historically accurate time periods, the 6 you can choose from. But at the same time, we put in parts of the Caribbean Disney-style curses and a kraken and a submerging Dutchman and all that stuff. And it's so if you want to play realistic, you can absolutely do that without worrying about running into unbelievable magic. But on the other hand, if magic is what you like to see, it's all there for you too.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the build mod just has a lot on offer, and yeah, I mean it's and in a way I've kind of seen it as like it's almost the quintessential single player pirate game. Like it's just like you can trade, you can take over ships, you can align with nations, make your own nation. Capture colonies mod honestly is probably one of my favorite parts of the mod because I don't know. I guess I almost like city management stuff in general, and I almost like I like anything where you can take land or take things for yourself. So that was really cool, and I think we have some ideas on the GitHub for Build 15 to even expand that, possibly maybe have some sort of maintenance system or like some way to possibly build out town or something. Just a couple of little ideas. Um, but I think so far, Officer Puppy has a couple of questions, and I think we've had him wait long enough at this point. Um, Two questions. Excluding your actually, you know what? I think we can answer these both at once, pretty much. Excluding yourself, who is the oldest still active member in the forum? And then, what's the oldest continuously active thread on the forum?
Well, I must admit that for the second question, I don't rightly know. I mean, there's a lot of old threads, especially if you start looking through the stickies. And sometimes some of those get posted in again, but there's nothing really that springs out to me. on that about oldest still active member. I was thinking about that, and I'm not entirely sure which person it is for sure. But I'd say the candidates I would say is Bartolomeo o Português, also known as Sergio from Portugal. He wrote uh, the second custom side quest for build 13 in that case. Actually, Catalina the pirate did the first one for build 12, and as you might have guessed, Bartolomeo Português also wrote the Bartolomeo Português storyline, which was the first full custom storyline, apart from the classic Nathaniel Hawke shenanigans. So he's definitely been around for a long time, and he is. I still talk to him on Facebook, and he's actually at the moment doing some little bit of work on another small side quest for a new free play character, Aveline de Grandpré from Assassin's Creed fame. So he's still active and going. And there's also Jack Rackham, also known as Per or Par. I don't know how you pronounce his first name. He's from Sweden, and he had actually based on, I think it was he based himself on build 13. He had written a total conversion for build 13. He just ripped out the original main quest and wrote something completely new, which is the Woods Rogers story, with all the puzzles and all the adventures and all the clever tricks. And that was he actually started on that before we had the select storylines mod. And then when Konrad, Pirate KK from Poland, he introduced the selectable storylines, Jack Rackham put in a lot of effort to make to adapt his work from basically being a standalone mod that he had kept internally, had not released, and adapted it into a fully supported storyline that's now available to all players. And those two are definitely, I'd say, are some of our longest active members. And also Jack Rackham, he still visits the forum every couple of days. So yeah, good folk.
Yeah, I know Jack Rackham. He's like almost 70 now. Like I think, like I think he's actually like an older guy. It, yeah, I'm looking right here, and he said, and yeah, it says 69 years old. So that's kind of cool that he got into it, kind of older too, because it's kind of stereotypical sometimes, like, oh, older people don't get into technology or whatnot. But now that's kind of cool that he got into it. And just I was curious, so I actually looked up as you brought him up, those two people, and uh, Bartolomeo. He's been on the he's been on Pirates Ahoy since October 2006, and Jack Rackham, he's been on since July of 2004. So I think Jack,
Jack's older.
yeah, he couple years actually. So because I was just curious too, because I know they've been really long-standing people as well, and yeah, Bartolomeo, I remember him when I initially came on too. So um, and yeah, no, it's and yeah, no, it's I think one thing I've found cool about the forum, and I kind of said this before, but like just but like seeing all the different places in Europe people come from too, like, oh, there's someone from Portugal or someone from Sweden, you're from the Netherlands, there's people from Germany, and I think there are a couple of people from England, if I recall correctly. They're and I thought there's even an Italian person. Don't quote me on that. But
There has been, I think, yeah. Not
yeah,
not at the moment anymore that I know, but there have been, yeah.
Yeah, there was someone. I just
Greek.
can't remember who.
Don't forget Greek.
Rick? I'm sorry. Don't forget what? I'm sorry.
Greek.
Oh, Greek. Yeah, there are a few Greek people in the server. That actually surprised me because, Greece actually doesn't have that big of a population when you get down to it, and but yeah, no, it is interesting because I remember when I introduced like the different categories for people to choose from on Discord for the roles, like I was asking people, what's the other language that I didn't include here? They're like, and a couple of people were like Greek. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's I should add a Greek role at some point. But yeah, no, it's so yeah, I just think having all those people from all those different areas is just so cool. And and yeah, just a reminder, go ahead and ask any questions, anyone here. But and yep, let's see. I was actually just looking through a couple of things on the forum too, while we were talking, but yeah, it's but yeah, there's so so like other than so like the new Horizons mod obviously is the biggest mod on Pirates Ahoy, but we've also had some other mods kind of come through too. Where's like what and you know I've never followed any of the other mods, so like I actually don't know the full list. And also just to kind of clarify for anyone listening to the podcast, what are all the other mods that we've had throughout like the years and whatnot?
From what I remember, is basically every new Sea Dogs game got a bit of a mod from someone on the community. So Caribbean Tales got the super mod, which I think was by CyberOps, and he put in some controversial stuff here and there. But he also, I think, I don't remember the full feature list at all, but I think he put in jungles outside the town, which they had actually left it out of its original game. And then somebody else went in and turned that into the historical immersion super mod. And I have not tried it at all, but I know it's out there. Then for City of Abandoned Ships, of course, it started with a gang of folk, including, I believe, Officer Puppy, who asked the question, but I don't see him in the audience anymore. I hope he'll listen back on the recording later on. But they worked on the combined mod pack, they called it. Every changes from different people combined. So that's how it always starts. And then
Yeah.
that evolved into Gentleman of Fortune. And then there were different versions of that, and that they kept going back and forth because they thought they were introducing the game instability, and I couldn't understand why that would be the case, but then I never investigated what they did with the code either. And then eventually that evolved through Modern Night into the Historical Eras 2 project, which last week he told us wonderful stories about, and I'm going to be trying it out very soon. And then on to each his own. There's the famous active map and hook mod. And actually, interesting about the hook mod, that was made by a guy who called himself Hook, and his real name was Larry Hookins, so it was very appropriate for a pirate.
Oh yeah, I remember him on the forum. Yeah.
And to make it extra interesting, it turned out that he was actually somebody who I had known before from the Virtual Sailor community I told about before. So I wasn't the
Oh,
only
nice.
one to come from that side.
I'm actually slightly curious now. You've brought up the virtual sailor community. What was that? Was that another forum, or I'm sorry, I actually don't know what that is. Is that another forum that existed back in the day, or?
Yeah, it was also just like Pirates Ahoy, an online community, but instead of around pirate sea dogs games, it was about well a simulator where you could put in you could put in different sailing areas, sceneries they were called, different ships. Everybody could contribute their own, and I was in good contact with the developer of that, Ilan Papini from Israel, I believe he was. It's surprising a bit. And yeah, I still remember when he introduced submarines, and then somebody had discovered that if you put in the configuration file, you gave the submarine way too much power. And then you press the dive button and then you started playing with the up and down keys. You could make it dive up instead of down. And before you knew it, people started making seaplanes. And then one of the most hilarious things ever happened. The guy, Elon, he fixed the bug that made it possible. Then the seaplanes didn't work anymore, so everybody was upset. And then came out, I don't have it anymore, I wish I did. Then came out the best version of Virtual Sailor ever, where it was the options menu, and in the options menu was one button called Submarines Can Fly. To toggle the button on and off. It was beautiful.
That's funny. No, that's great. Yeah, I mean, there are things. I mean, it's documented for certain things. Certain bugs becoming features and whatnot. The most famous example probably is the Minecraft creeper. That was just an inversion of the pig. Like it was a pig that stood up or something as a bug or something, and they're like and yeah, I guess they were frustrated by that, so they ended up making a new mob out of it, and they wanted it to be a mob that could grief your builds, kind of like how it just messed with them almost, and that was the idea behind it. And it's so I mean, I actually think that's cool when that happens because it's like you know, it, I that I see as a true expressive expression of being creative because you're taking something that's a problem and you're making it like something new, something to add to it, and something to make it like its own character of the game or whatever. And I think that kind of perfectly encapsulates to some extent what you're describing there. They eventually made that an option where if you wanted to just play around with it, you can. And it's there's a YouTuber LGR where he'll occasionally say in some of his old Sims reviews, like he's like, I do like me some optional options, and that's exactly my philosophy to games too. Is like more options you give me, the happier I'm going to be generally. So
Well, I can tell you what you were saying about a bug turning into a feature. I can give you a New Horizons example of my own. Because New Horizons is the only Sea Dogs game where you can fight with your fists. That's a
okay.
feature. That's a feature that I added into the game, not because I wanted to support fist fighting, but actually because somebody else had put in the weapons quality mod. So weapons could be average, good, fine, worn, badly worn, and then I can't remember who put that in. Might have been Nathan Kell actually. Not sure. Then Alan Smithy, he put in the blacksmith mod, so you could increase the quality of your weapons. Then I figured years later that if qualities can increase, they should also be able to decrease, right? Only makes sense.
Yeah.
Wear and tear. So I put in the blade damage mod, and well, if you have the lowest quality blade, the way I figured it, I mean, it can still go lower, and then it breaks altogether. But then the problem was, I could actually make blade break. I could make it disappear from your inventory, but then you were still holding an invisible blade. And the problem was, if you don't have an actual blade equipped, you couldn't put your blade back into your scabbard because there wasn't one. So there you were stuck with an invisible blade drawn, and the whole game would just lock up, and you couldn't do a thing anymore. So I figured, okay, you know what? We put in the fist so that when your blade breaks, you get fists blades, and then at least you can put something back, and then you're not stuck.
Yeah, no, and it's kind of funny with that feature. During the tavern brawl things that can happen. Yeah, everyone just fights with their fists, and that's kind of cool how that I mean that feature got used to kind of make that because it's in a way, like, I don't know if realistic is the word, but probably actually it almost feels a little more organic or realistic to have, like, if people are drunk or whatever, they're not usually all going to pull out their swords. There's they don't want to go out killing someone per se, but they just they get in bar fights, and just or tavern fights, and it just yeah, it's so it I don't know. I find that to be a cool, like, something that adds on to the game from that even. So, that and that just kind of lends itself well to that. And yeah, I just yeah, the build mod impresses me more and more every day, just how, because I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it's just all people volunteering their work. And and it's built something. Honestly, I don't think I've had a single player pirate game experience. I think Beyond New Horizons is the best experience in my opinion. And Hammy's been working very hard. Shout out to Hammy and the audience. Working very hard to get all the bugs ironed out, and it's like, I mean, he's made a ton of progress. So I have found a ton of bugs in that game, and he's just kept ironing them out. And I mean, he's almost resolved like 100 bugs in build 15 now. There's almost 100 closed on the GitHub. So I mean, just props props to you, Hammy. And hey, actually, our next podcast is going to be with Hammy next Saturday. So that, sadly, I'm gonna be unavailable for that one, which sucks because I want to talk to him. But yeah, yeah, I have my parents and I are going to be doing some Christmas stuff then. But yeah, 'cause that's the only time my mom can come out. But anyway, I'm sorry, I went on a tangent. But but uh but yeah, it's so yeah, let's see here. Santiago just asked a question. And this is actually a good question, kind of as for the build mod 15, since we're actively trying to get more people involved with it. What are some tips for people wanting to get into modding and contributing to projects such as Beyond New Horizons?
Well, what I always recommend is think of something you want to add. Make sure it's something small, like just a little quest of making one person talking to one person who tells you to talk to another person to give you an item, for example. That's always a good thing to start with. And actually, for this very purpose, I made this forum thread, and I would just like to put it at people's attention again. It doesn't look like much. If you actually make use of it, there's so much you can do. Just waiting for the forum to load up now. It's under tutorials where you've got so much stuff. I made one thread in 2015 called Modding Tips and Tricks. And I'll just go, I'll quickly mention the ones I mentioned there. Well, Notepad++ instead of regular Notepad, that helps a lot. You can use different code editors, of course. Then there's WinMerge. That I use that to death. If people make a mod, then I would use WinMerge to compare my game files with the other game files, and you could find all the differences and make sure that things don't interfere with each other. And the third is the Windows search index I discovered. You can add your Pirates of the Caribbean game folder to what they call the Windows search index. And if you do that and you use Windows search, then the text that you type in, it will search inside all the code files. So not just in file names, but inside the contents, which is absolutely awesome. And then you can join that up with Notepad++. You just open all the files in Notepad++, and then you go Control F, find in all open files, And then you get this nice overview in the bottom of the screen with all the places where what you were looking for is actually used. You can quickly find all sorts of interesting, relevant parts. And it's basically if you can think of some sort of entrance to use to trace down the code, then you can find pretty much anything. And it can be, I used the other day in See That Dogs to Each His Own. I wanted to find the code to wait a night, and I knew it was in the self dialog file, but I didn't know what that was called. So I talked to myself, looked at the dialogue that I said to myself. I typed that dialogue in the search bar, and poof, out comes the correct file name. I open the file, scroll down, and up, there we go, found it. Another good trick is to look through the settings menu, and the build settings.h and the internal settings.h. They have a lot of tweakable things, and if you search for the variables that are mentioned there, that you can find everywhere in the code where those variables are used. And then if there's some feature that you want to find, that's a good way to actually track it down. And I also just mentioned program/console.c, which is just a code file, and if you press F12, it executes the code, and you can make it do absolutely anything. Then there's the dump attributes. It's an engine function, and if you use it on what they call a reference or an object, then it will dump all the attributes to compile.log, and you can look at all the parameters of whatever you were dumping. And if you do it, for example, on your player character, you will automatically get in the dump your stats, your abilities, all the items you carry, all the quests that are active for you. And you can do it on characters, you can do it on ships, you can do it on locations. And the final one is the trace and log. And that if you put trace or just log it or trace and log into the code anywhere, when that gets executed, it gets written to either end or the screen and or the compile.log file. And you can do a lot of intense debugging, figure out what the hell is going on in the code, look at things step by step. And with those 6 things together, there's so much you can do. And of course, the most important thing, aside from that, is just talk to us. Talk to us in the community. Tell us what you want to do, and we're always happy to point people in the right direction. Especially on the forum, Gray Roger, Jack Rackham, they're very good at giving feedback on how to do the coding. Give really in-depth responses. So I hope that gives a bit of an answer, but feel free to ask deeper if you feel like it.
Yeah, and too, honestly, with build 15, if you want to help out with that, one big thing too is could definitely use another tester or two, because I'm really the main tester for it, and I haven't been able to contribute too much in the past couple of months because I moved recently, but I'm getting back into it. We're only making public, like, because right now Hammy's doing a bit of a module thing where, like, essentially untested storylines are currently kind of disabled until they get tested. So I'm I'm hoping I want to get Devil and Opera and Assassin fully tested and through, and then I want to do Bartholomew and everything. So just someone to test the storyline, someone to test the features and whatnot, and yeah, we could definitely use some of the programs. Oh, I didn't.
Your audio is cutting out.
That was weird. My internet lagged for a second. No, I was just saying we just need testers on top of the coders and stuff too. But obviously, anyone who can help Hammy in terms of the code stuff. I mean, it's just I mean, he's done a great job, but I'm sure he'd love some help. So and yeah, and Sand to go. Yeah, if you and if you want to help with the untested storyline. Sorry, it's my mic is messing up. I'm literally ordering a new one right after this podcast. But yeah, and Sand, if you want to help with the untested storylines, let me know, and I'll send you a quick text on how to enable the untested ones. That way you can test those. But yeah, yeah, nah, okay, yeah, I definitely need to replace this mic. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, and so yeah, what and just I and this is just a random just question I have. What games do you find yourself playing these days more often?
Well, I've discovered that even though I've been involved with games for a long time, I find myself actually not being too much of a gamer. Historically speaking, I always find myself playing and then starting to fiddle around with the things that already started back in the Age of Empires days. I started playing around with the scenario editor. And then, I told you the virtual sailor story, and you know the Pirates Ahoy story. I did buy a couple of years back a PlayStation 4 because I really love adventure games, like the Indiana Jones games. Actually, I was going to tell you about the fists, the swak 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 sounds that it makes me punch people. It's right out of Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb. I copied the files because it's that game is so much fun. Punching Nazis has never been that much fun. So I
Mhm.
really wanted to try the Uncharted games, and then I played all those. So much fun, so much fun. And then I finally took the plunge and tried Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which is of course the famed pirate game. And at the time when it came out, our entire community was just making fun of it because of they had advertised it for realism, and then we saw it and it was like jet skis with apparent sails on them. It was like seriously.
Yeah, I think I actually remember too, because I think I was actually on the forum by the time that game had come out, or right around the time, something like that. And I remember seeing everyone kind of joking about that, because yeah, it just but I think some people found it fun in its own right too, and at this point, the whole pirating naval enthusiast thing is still a bit of a niche in games. I mean, the only mainstream entry it's really had is Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
Um, um, and I actually did like Disney had um, this Pirates of the Caribbean online game. And it was like a multiplayer online game that Disney had for a little bit. And I actually did like that. And I was into that for a good little while. Um, but unfortunately, they shut it down a few years ago. I think they shut it down back in like 2020 or 2019. It was a couple years earlier than that. But
Well,
yeah, it's
somebody recommended to me last week to watch some videos about that game because it's been a complete fan remake of it, and it's alive and kicking again.
oh really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I'll have to look that up. That because shoot, if someone rebooted it, yeah. I mean, if you have the link to it, post it in chat because I actually want to check it out. But
I'm just searching for it now.
yeah, that'd be kind of cool because hey, I'm all for any any So you said fans brought it back. How did fans bring it back? It was purely online, I think.
Well, as far as I understand it, the fans basically rebuilt the entire game from the ground up, which is impressively done.
Wow. I okay, yeah, this look wow. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just looking through it right now. Okay.
You're well excited.
Yeah, shoot. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely yeah, since I have some stuff I have to do today. But I'm tonight though, I might be what I'm doing because or at least making my account and getting myself set up because holy crap, yeah, yeah, and they have some yeah, and they have some updates too. Like I see an update from end of October. So yeah, I mean they okay, shoot. Wow, and I can't believe that's awesome though because that was a cool thing and and I played around with that. I think I was a teenager when I played around with that primarily or maybe like older teenager. So I can't remember the exact years, but I just remember that being so cool and yeah. So so yeah, and I think now, especially as the tools for making games are becoming so much more powerful and stuff. I actually think you're going to start seeing some more stuff come up and Sea of Thieves has that new single player mode coming out or something, so that'll be kind of cool. Like I said, I just like to see whenever they get any sort of you know attention because you know I've always seen Pirates Ahoy as a bit of a hub for people who are into those games in general too. Because I mean, we do have sections where we talk about the other games and that's honestly that's where we get a lot of people from and it's just we're a pretty good community here, so yeah, I just like seeing it grow with more people who are enthusiastic about the same thing. Um, and it's it's kind of funny, like like Pirates Ahoy. I think is just it's just such a generalized fan site in a way to where I think that's part of the reason we're always open to like what was I trying to say? So basically, I think one reason Pirates Ahoy has stuck around so long is because we we are focused on the build mod and that's kind of the main thing for Pirates Ahoy, but at the same time we're open to talking about all these different things and people are just genuinely enthusiastic about the ships and stuff, so we go on discussions about like the ships and just various other things and whatnot, so it's just there's always someone interesting to talk to or something interesting to talk about, and and I know the activities we're not exactly where we were at peak or anything like that, but it's really kind of picking back up due to the podcasts and whatnot, so it's I just think I don't know, I just find it so cool. It's a really unique community and I definitely hope this community just keeps inspiring people to get into this sort of thing and whatnot because I know I got so inspired by it. Sorry if that was a little bit of a tangent. But yeah, yeah. Like I said, there's no real set agenda or talks here. This is just going to be kind of us talking about the site, talking about build mod, talking about whatever. Um, I see there's a couple of people here who I don't think were in here earlier. If you have any questions about Pirates Ahoy or build mod or anything, feel free to ask here. Um, but but yeah, no, it's and I know and this is just a random tangent, but I know like you mentioned, didn't you say at one point you had a boat
I do have a
like
boat.
in real
Yes,
life?
I
Or
do.
yeah, yeah, what kind of boat is it? I'm just curious
It's
because I think you brought it up before. I can't remember.
It's Halberg Erassi 29, the 29-foot cabin sailboat.
Yeah, I think I remember now. You brought it. You told me about it once. There we go. Thanks for
put the
posting
link in
that link.
Actually, I always, we always fantasize about. I think people from Pirates Ahoy come over here, and then we go out on adventures here. So I would certainly be happy to welcome some of you here. I mean, we can go sailing on the IJsselmeer. We can visit the Batavia Werf, the Amsterdam Maritime Museum, some other spots of interest here. So
Yeah, you should mount a cannon to your boat. Just no.
well, I can tell you this much. Last year, when I was feeling particularly crazy, I discovered that there was a special kind of shop right next to the supermarket here. They had a cannon for sale, and I went ahead and paid for the bloody thing. But as far as I'm aware, it's still there because I didn't do anything with it. But I figured, wouldn't it be fucking hilarious if we take that cannon, just for a minute, lower it with a crane on the foredeck of my sailboat?
I don't. Yeah, I don't think your sailboat would be able to hold the weight of a cannon. Those things get heavy.
No. It's a terrible idea. But just for a minute. Actually, let me show you guys something funny. When I was going to buy my sailboat, Ray Roger, good guy from our forum, he went into Photoshop mode. Find it now. That is it. Oh, there it is. Right there at the top. He took my sailboat to be, and he photoshopped the pirate flag and cannons on there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm check out that image.
That is. And actually, I have a video of me actually hoisting a pirate flag on my boat.
Oh yeah, I see the I see a picture of it looking on the thread you just posted.
There you go.
Now that's cool. I'm happy to have that boat. That's awesome. Yeah, it's just awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of Texas here, so not closest closest ocean port is about 300 miles or over 400 kilometers away from me. So
Any lakes around at all?
there is a lake near me actually. It's a decent sized lake. I could put a sailboat on that. I could put that thing there. I could use that there. And it's a decent sized lake too. Problem is it's kind of also partially owned by the military. So I'd have to I'd have to I could only sail in certain parts of it essentially. And I think and if someone accidentally goes in there, they just tell them essentially like, yeah, turn back. So it's not like but yeah. No, I'm in kind of a weird area. So sadly my seafaring prospects are not exactly as broad as yours, but
That's what holidays are for, mate.
that's what I'm sorry.
That's what holidays are for, mate.
Actually, it looks like we have a couple questions from Bass here. Now with some time into it, how have things been taking ownership of the site? My understanding is that you own it and DH27 manages it on the technical side. Does Keith have any involvement at all anymore?
Well, the thing was that Keith was just swamped with his real life business. He wanted to be rid of the responsibility. He had stopped being involved a long time ago already. William left even before that. They used to be together. Me running things, not in some other way. Sorry. And I was actually keeping it at bay because I didn't feel ready to take over. But eventually, I just caved and was like, okay, fine. At least I did. I wanted the community to at least keep on breathing. And Keith transferred the ownership to my name. Ever since I've been paying the bills, so to say. And Keith at one point did offer to still assist us if really necessary, but we haven't heard from him in well over a year, I think it was. But chances are, if I send him a message, he may eventually respond. That's pretty much the status there. And indeed, it's pretty much as Basta says, DH kind enough to do the technical aspects because you might actually know that my background is not in IT whatsoever, and all the things that I've been able to do with computers over the years is just bonus, so to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you've well, I mean, to be honest though, I mean, you've contributed a good amount to the build mod itself. I mean, too, like I remember seeing in the build 13 and 14 like you making certain changes and whatnot, and I don't know, like you've definitely made quite a few technical contributions too, from what I remember at least.
Yeah, I can't actually deny it. If you look at the number
But
of comments that says PB in the code, it's
yeah, no, I just which for someone who I mean your background isn't even technical. I mean that's really good in my opinion. I mean there's most people who aren't who don't have technical backgrounds use that as an excuse to not even know how to install certain programs or something. It's just like, but no, I think that's, I mean, shoot, I'd argue you're more technical than most people because of your contributions to Pirates Oil alone. But
that's the
yeah,
beautiful thing about Parsohor. You can actually contribute and join in and start doing things without actually knowing much to begin with. I mean, when I started, the only coding knowledge that I had was messing around on my graphical calculator in secondary school. I think I did a short course on Visual Basic Script from a magazine at some point, and then I just started crawling through the mod files on Parts Ahoy. And actually, I know, for example, Jack Rackham, who we were talking about before. As far as I'm aware, he's got no coding background. He's worked with trains. He's been a maths teacher. That's the two things I know about his background, but definitely not coding. And just look at how much creative questing he's done.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, no, which that's, I mean, that's kind of crazy too. I mean, he's an older guy who got into coding and stuff, and just like it's just, I think it just shows like it is really cool, I guess, just how people of so many backgrounds have come together just for this. It's yeah, it's something that just fascinates me more and more the more you explain it and more really get into it. But yeah, so yeah, nah, and I just it's kind of funny. You know I know I've been kind of on and off, but I just but yeah, but like I kind of came back and whatnot because I'm just like, I'm just like, when I saw like build 15 being built without the need of the without the need of the base game, and I saw like it's a new engine and everything. When I came back and I saw that, I got so excited, and that's what kind of got me back into everything. 'Cause it's just like, oh, this could be a really, this could be a really big thing. It could be a whole new age for the build mod, but I just wanted to kind of support that in the way I could, and I think over the years I've discovered I'm not really a programmer or anything. I'm just but I'm more than happy to test. I'm more than happy to test it out, play around with it, and
Let me tell
help
you. Let me
maintain the
tell you.
Discord.
If we have only programmers and no testers, then we can't get anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think actually I was part of Hammy's problem at first was I was the first person to come on to seriously test the build 15 because he had done a little bit of testing himself, but he said, "Yeah, I need someone to actually test, bring these bugs out." So, yeah, no, so yeah, and but yeah, it's just it's crazy to me how it's evolved just over the years too. But yeah, I guess and then like yeah, so I'm sorry, I was looking back at that sailboat you have. That's now that's really cool. I don't know. If one of us ever wins the lottery, we should buy everyone a boat. All the just everyone we can just buy them boats.
No, we should join up on the same boat.
Yeah. Or yeah, just get a big boat and have us all join up.
Now you're talking.
There you go. No, yeah, yeah, it's kind of funny. There was a story of a guy I knew who he he actually had a decent amount of money towards the end of his life, but like he but he grew up really poor, so he never wanted to spend money. Even though he at that point was essentially rich. Um, and he so it's funny, he had this old rackety fishing boat that was like paddling. You could it barely it bare it almost capsized on him last time he tried to go out because it was just like a canoe essentially. It just almost fell apart. He was using that as a fishing boat. So then he right and this happened like a couple years before he died too. So sadly he never got that much use out of it. But he bought this gigantic fishing boat or whatever. It was like a yacht essentially. Because and it yeah, I mean it was like it almost classified as a super yacht, I think. It was like the biggest thing he could put out on the lake that he was fishing on. And yeah, so I don't know. It was just kind of funny to me like yeah, I just got reminded about on that story us bringing that up. But yeah, nah, it's um let's see here. And just a reminder, anyone wants to ask any questions or whatnot. We've been going for a little bit here, but definitely so actually I guess the one thing kind of expand on Bass' question there is so yeah, I know Keith was the previous owner. Um and Keith was the original owner, correct?
Yeah, he originally set up the entire community together with William.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. And and you said he just hasn't he hasn't posted or been involved within the past year or so.
Indeed, he has not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember him being like well, I remember him, being kind of active or I remember him being kind of active before, but honestly, it was funny. I thought you were the when I came on, I thought you were the owner because back in the day because you were just more active. You were more active, and I don't know. It honestly just all made sense that you became owner. Like I don't know. That just seemed like a very natural transition to me. And I know you were. you were, and definitely from what you've said, but also from what I've heard you say before, you were definitely nervous about the prospects. Um, but no, I think I think in a way we're kind of having a bit of a renaissance because of Build 15, because of these podcasts, um, all the work DH put into all the stuff DH is putting into it, and I'm trying to contribute where I can. It's and Hammy, obviously all the work he's done towards Build 15, and yeah, so like in a way, it does feel like we're kind of building back up towards something. So I'm really happy about that, and yeah, what was I don't know, just as a, and I guess this is as a almost a bit of a question, is maybe something we could even explore or something, but like I know there are certain things we always had issues with due to the engine. What's something you think you'd like to see in Build 15 now that we're a lot less limited by the engine?
Well, what I would like first and foremost is just that that things work. Just get things to work. It would be nice to update all the ship models to show their pennants and flags and stern lanterns properly again. That's probably going to be a lot of tedious work to do that. But I think the results would look so much better. Um, Maybe, and that would be a big maybe, we could finally squash that dumb surrender bug, which you might have heard about once or twice. Where if the leader of a group of ships surrenders, the entire group surrenders, which it's not supposed to do that. And actually,
Oh, okay. I actually didn't know that was a bug. Um,
we managed to fix it to the point that you can now save at sea thanks to Conrad. If this happens, the entire group turns neutral, and you save, and you load the save, then they're properly hostile again. So the game can
gotcha.
actually do it properly. It's just in real time it just goes wonky for reasons that just could never figure out.
Gotcha. Yeah, I actually wasn't aware of that. I guess I don't know. I guess usually I end up building my character and the ship up so much to where I end up getting a ship that can just blow things out of the water before they can surrender. But because I always like getting a big ship and just
I
getting all the
like
upgrades.
big guns and I cannot lie.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so yeah. I don't usually have that many ships surrender, so I'm just not I would mess with that surrender mechanic more, but I'll have to maybe mess with it a bit, see if I can recreate that and maybe put that on the GitHub or something. But yeah, no, I definitely yeah. And yeah, um let's see here. I was I'm sorry, I was just making sure there wasn't anything else that I had missed through chat or anything. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anyone's question or anything. Um but in terms of oh, I remember this was a long time ago, so I think you'll remember when I bring it up, but like I remember I don't know if this was a bug or someone did as a joke for like just to show off, but like I remember someone replaced the cannonball models with like crew, so it looked like the cannons were firing crew members or something. And, I can't remember if someone did that as a joke or if that was an actual bug at one point, but
Pretty sure that it was a joke.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah, but yeah, no, I just remember seeing that on the forum once in like the jokes section or something, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah, most of the
And
jokes are actually still in the game. This has to be one of the This New Horizons must be like Easter eggs, the game. It is just so full of silly little things.
Yeah, well, one thing I find funny too is the Clint Eastwood thing or whatever. You can get the shotgun. Oh yeah, Boelen algebra. Yep, the book that increases some skills. Yeah.
Yeah, I started reading from it in one of my Pieter Plays videos. I had to buy it and show it to you people.
Yeah.
I must say, I never put myself into the game. It was always other modders granting me the honor.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you've just been such a huge part of the community. I mean, gotta have your name in there somehow.
Well, I'm glad to know that I'm not the only modder in there. So there's a whole bunch of them.
Oh yeah. No, it's well, I mean, it's been a community project, and it's, I mean, other people want to see other members of the community in the project because, yeah, it's just nice. Like I said, just all of us having that shared enthusiasm and the shared goal for the build mod. It's just it's created what I've seen as the friendliest community, but also just like the just one of the most enthusiastic communities. I mean, and I think evidence of that is just the fact that, we're a community ultimately that's been around for 20 years that originally was centered around a game that, let's be honest, it did not have, any sort of mainstream, you know, a focus on it. By all accounts, a game that got as much focus as that game did should have, you know, kind of been forgotten to history almost. But I mean, here we are, still having people actively develop and actively test it, and that's something that gets me every time I think about it. And yeah, so and yeah, so um, what so I guess just kind of, I think we're getting kind of towards the end here. What what do you hope to see for the future for Pirates Ahoy, and just for like the build mod, or what do you hope to see for the future in general?
Well, what I'm hoping for is that we can continue to grow a bit the community again. And DH certainly has been doing a fantastic job with hosting these podcasts every week now. It's definitely been brilliant to get some engagement. And it's nice to actually be part of it for a change myself. I had promised that next week I would also be there for Hamis 1, so to be continued.
Yeah, I feel bad I can't be here next Saturday. Yeah, that's one I really wanted to be in too. But I'm very glad I at least got to talk to you because I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, just in general. So it's great, and yeah, we should definitely and yeah, no, I definitely, maybe at some point we should just call each other up on Discord too. Um,
Yeah, what I'd always also like to say is I'm hoping to continue growing our YouTube presence to get some more visibility. And actually, as we hit a big milestone yesterday, 1,000 subscribers. We did it! We were
there
so
you go.
close for so long, and we managed to cross. And actually, I was looking into it. Because to get a YouTube partnership, you need to have 3,000 watch hours. And we're nowhere close to that. But actually, if you consider that only for the past couple of weeks, we've been really churning out the videos. I'm thinking that yeah, we might actually be able to reach the required level by within a year. I think I calculated if we can keep it up the way we're going, in half a year, 3/4 of a year, we might actually be able to get to it. So I'm hoping that we've got the stamina to actually make that happen. Hope that give us some more exposure. Also
Yeah,
quite
no,
fun.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, I definitely have seen you putting out a bunch of videos, which I think that's cool because I mean, that's that's something we need. We need some sort of active social media presence, through that and Discord and then the forum. It's I think just kind of putting ourselves out there constantly, just because over time, especially if we consistently upload content through these podcasts or your playthroughs and whatnot, that helps bring more people in. And you know yeah, just make sure you're putting the Discord and the forum on in the description of each video, and that'll help too. And yeah, I mean that. And and I'm so excited too because this Discord server, because of all the people who've gone through the podcast, we're now partnered. Or well, no, I'm sorry, we're not partnered with Discord. We have Discovery on the server. Um, so that's really cool. People can just look us up through the Discovery feature now, and that I was really excited when that happened with our Discord. I and that's one thing I've been so happy about through podcast because that opens up our exposure, because now we have a public Discord servers page on Discord's official end. So that just I mean, and that adds, and having a good sized Discord server now. I mean, in the gaming world, that's another form of I I don't know if I want to say legitimacy, but I think you know what I mean when I say it's just like almost another form of legitimacy where like like we are officially Pirates Ahoy, and this is us, and we have this and this, so it's just cool. I'm just happy anytime we see the community grow and be more recognized. And Bast had one more question here. Has there been anything more in the build mod like the no EXP problem, or was that the weirdest one? I'm assuming he's referring to a specific bug.
In all honesty, I am not entirely sure what he's after here. Buster,
I,
could you?
I'm a Yeah, I assume he's referring to a bug of some sort, based off of that. But yeah, if you could clarify, it's like he's typing.
I can tell you at least what I thought was the weirdest bug. There was somewhere in the fighting, attacking, or blocking code, I don't remember what it was. Something was going wrong. And I discovered there was one specific line of code that was going wrong. But the idiotic thing is, it had nothing to do with what was on the line. It was just whatever was on that line would go wrong. It was like the line was literally cursed. So the way I fixed the bug is to put some random garbage on that line. Just go like a is 1 plus 1, which did nothing whatsoever because we weren't using variable a. And I put the code that it should be executing on the next line. Bug solved.
That okay. Yeah, I my only guess is that something was referencing that file in that line that maybe just completely forgot about. I don't know. But that's funny though. That's crazy. Um yeah, and actually Bass was saying that's the one. That's the bug he was actually talking about. Um
That was fucking weird.
yeah, that
This fix works, but why does it work?
yeah, no, I mean, hey, it's well, I mean, oh yeah, and Bass he posted the thread too. Yeah.
Good
So
man.
yeah, but yeah, that I'm slightly curious. When was that bug a thing? Because I want to know if I can remember it.
Well, Buster was still talking about it in 2023, apparently.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It was fixed by then, I'm sure.
huh, weird.
2013, I'm seeing here.
Oh, okay.
10-year-old bug. Yeah, look at this. I think I came up
Hey,
with
as
some
long
sort of a fix. Turns out whatever is on that bool, no XP is false line is being randomized or something. So I added a dummy line above so that can be randomized instead of the one we actually use. Integer dummy is
nice.
1. And then with my comment, whatever is on this line ends up changing from what you said. Positively bizarre behavior. I haven't the faintest clue why this should make any difference whatsoever, but it does.
Oh yeah, no, well, have you seen those videos of like Valve developers going over like or like people going over Valve developers code comments on some of the code? There's a video where it's like Valve developers like if you remove this line, the game will crash upon loading. We have no idea why. This line shouldn't affect anything. We can even comment out this line and it'll still work fine, but if you delete this line, it won't work. And
I hadn't
like
seen that,
one
but
of
that
the
sounds the same, yeah.
yeah, I mean that and just like there was another too where it's like this references a variable in another file that isn't even called by this file. But if you don't state it in this file for some reason, it will not properly initialize in the other file or something. And it's just like,
Computers.
yeah, no, that was yeah, no, it's well, and I mean, the Storm engine has certainly had its quirks too. So I I can I can only imagine there's certain things that have happened that probably are just longer that are just probably just bugs with the engine or whatnot. And that's part of why I'm happy we have more control over the engine now because now I think we're gonna have less of that where we just can't control any of it because now the engine is open source on GitHub. It's just it's so that's part of the excitement over having the new engine. But so last call for anyone in the audience. If you have any questions, now is your time to ask. Otherwise, I think we're going to be wrapping it up soon here. I just want to give a couple more minutes for anyone to ask a question, but yeah,
Actually, I want to ask a question to you guys and also to the audience. It's like, to what extent are you also interested in, shall we say, like nautical books, pirate movies, music, that sort of thing?
For me, so I mean, I guess I'll start by answering myself personally. I I've never been much of a book reader, admittedly, just in general. But like I've certainly been into movies and into games and into like yeah, just media in general. I guess that's a good way to put it is any sort of nautical or pirate media I'm pretty well into myself. So yeah, everyone in the audience, feel free to answer through chat. DH, do you what like are you into any other media or books or anything like that about anything nautical or maritime or anything like that?
Honestly, for me, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies did it all. This is what interested me in the games, in the Sea Dogs games in the beginning. In terms of historical books or nautical books on how to do something, for example, on how to sail, I can imagine myself seeing myself sailing one day, but it's going to be a long way till I get there to say, okay, yeah, let's sail somewhere on a boat. I think there's so much stuff that I want to do first before I go on such a journey. But it's definitely something that I would consider, especially because I really like the sea, the Black Sea or the Mediterranean Sea. So I think this is definitely something up for the future.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Just to expand on what DH was saying, I don't see myself sailing either. Like I said, especially with where I live now, my prospects are fairly limited. But I don't know. It could happen one day. I could see myself just kind of like I have some money. I'm kind of done with everything. I'm just gonna go out and live out on a boat and just sail the seas.
I have been playing this game or these games here for an hour and a half. I tried to show everything from New Horizons on Maelstrom to Beyond New Horizons to Sea Dogs, City of the Abandoned Ships, and Tejo. So I think I've covered pretty much every game that there is in the Sea Dogs series.
Yeah, no, it would be good. It's
Caribbean
good for
Tales,
B-roll.
the original one.
Yeah, Caribbean. Yeah, I also have played this actually. I also started that. The only one that I didn't get to play now is the original Sea Dogs from 2001 or 2000, something like that.
Yeah, it's actually one of my ideas for my video series because I'm doing the stock game Saturday, and it's boring the hell out of me and annoying me too because there's no time compression. So actually, I was considering replacing that with the original Sea Dog. See if I can get that up and running. Keep hearing. I've heard so many good things about it. You must admit I
Which
do have
one?
some curiosity. The 2000 game.
Ah, yeah. The problem is that you can't really play it on a modern system.
Well, lucky I don't have a modern system then.
Yeah, okay, sure.
I always find a way to get things working on system, even if it's not supposed to. I tend to have a bit of a knack for that personally, just finding ways to make old games work even when I really don't want to. Then and then yeah, Sandigo just it was saying may not usually search specifically for maritime related topics, but almost always do end up watching any videos that pop up in their feed or they're recommended. So yeah, no, I and certainly kind of go off what DH was saying. Pirates of the Caribbean obviously got me into it, the game and the movies. But ironically, I actually played the game, like the Pirates of the Caribbean game that we made build mod off of. I played that like a couple years before I even saw the movies. So funny enough, that was my first little exposure. But no, so yeah,
Reminds me a bit
just
of me with Indiana Jones and Star Wars. My first exposure to those stories was actually through the books instead of the movies.
okay. Oh, and Sandigo said, yeah, same for him. Found about the game a long while before he saw the movies. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to tell you that to some extent, substantial extent, I've actually made one of my goals in life to collect a lot of seafaring pirate sort of stuff. So I've got a music collection with as much of the pirate film music that I could find. I've got almost a whole row of pirate movies in my collection, pirate DVDs. Got a whole bunch of books, Hornblower novels. I read the hell out of those. Got some of the classics which I have yet to read.
I need to read those. I want to read, especially, and what inspired me for that is just playing through the Hornblower storyline. Now I kind of want to read the books or at least see the little movies or whatever. Just yeah. So
I found those books to be just an excellent read, absolutely excellent.
maybe that's what will get me into reading.
I'll tell you
But-
something. The first Hornblower book, I mean, if you go by the chronology of the character, not the chronology of the writing, that's been all over the place. But with Hornblower being the youngest, it's actually a short story collection. So it's not too much of an investment to start reading. You can just read the first short story and see how that suits you.
Okay. Yeah, I might get with you on that later if I do seriously want to get more into that. But and yeah, I think tonight though I'm gonna be checking out that Pirates Online thing that you linked me. I'm so glad someone liked it. But yeah, and Neat Shark, glad to see you. It's perfectly fine that you're a little late, but yeah, we and Neat Shark, if you have any questions, we're actually approaching the end of our podcast. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. But yeah, I don't see anyone typing. I don't see anything coming through. But so yeah, I think we're pretty much at the end of the podcast now. But honestly, it's great having you on here. Owner of Pirates Ahoy, and just been part of the community for longer than I have, and I consider myself to be almost an older member of the community too, because technically my account was made back in like 2010, so I've been in the community a little while now, so I mean, you've been a long way longer than that, and yeah, it was great talking to you and great going over anything. DH, did you have anything you wanted to ask or say or anything?
Yeah. So you mentioned you are going since 2010, right, Tommy? This is
Yeah,
quite
it
a
was
long
like,
time ago.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2010. For some reason, I think I saw the site back in 2009, but I didn't make my account until 2010 or something like that. It was something like that because I remember seeing the site in 2009, but I think if you go on the website, it says my account was made in 2010. So, yeah.
Oh, I finally got the Flying Dutchman. When I go out to sea now, it's going to get to me. This is what I have tried to achieve in the last 20 minutes to get the Flying Dutchman to take me.
Oh yes, you want to see this thing?
Let's go.
To see this thing?
There it is.
Nice. In the background, what game are you playing right now, DH?
This is City of the Abandoned Ships. Oh, I just got sunk. Yeah, this is City of the Abandoned Ships. And this is on Maelstrom Engine. So this is vanilla COS on Maelstrom Engine because, especially with COAS, it's so much more stable on Maelstrom Engine. It's night and day. I've tried to get through the entire game, vanilla game, on Storm Engine, but I got into so much trouble with engine-related bugs that I couldn't do it in the end. And then I just switched to Maelstrom Engine, and it has been great for that purpose.
Yeah.
A little bit before I played Beyond New Horizons. Basically, every game that I played in the last 1 hour and 46 minutes, I just died a couple of times. But I guess this is the Sea Dogs experience.
Well, I mean, it's it's good B-roll footage and whatnot. So that's but yeah. All right. Well, I think we're at the end of it. Was there anything else you wanted to say, Peter, before the end?
Actually, I was going to use this opportunity to tell what I consider to be an inspiring story that's got nothing to do with what we do here, except for one tiny little thing. You might have noticed behind me there's all sorts of models and stuff. It's actually a lot of it is Lego. And I know DH has got this dream of the game running on the newer engine, the Unreal Engine, for example. I was going to tell that actually there's a game you can download for free now. It's called Manic Miners. And it is made by one person who spent the last couple of years completely remaking Lego Rock Raiders, which is like a Lego real-time strategy sort of game. I tried it out, and it's really impressive what he managed to do, and that's on Unreal, and he did it by himself. So it's like, wow, this can actually be done.
Yeah, there are a few games that have been made by only like one or two people that end up being impressive. So it's it goes to show. I mean, if you have the level of dedication commitment, you can and I think that's what our community shows. If you have the level of dedication commitment, I mean, you eventually make whatever you want work. And I think that's one of the best takeaways we can have from this podcast, but and from the community at large. So Pieter, thanks so much for coming on. And just yeah, it's great to have this. And if we have if we have any other weeks or whatever, I mean, maybe we can arrange to have you back or whatever as stuff develops with the build and stuff too. Maybe get into that. But all right.
We
Other
should
than
start.
that,
We should start a movie and book talk club.
just start a what? I'm sorry.
Movie and book talk club.
Hey, I mean, yeah, that'd be a good way
Promote
to
some
boost
of those.
community engagement.
Promote some of those classic films. I mean, have you seen The Seahawk?
Yeah.
Captain Blood.
No, we should do that at some point. But just get with me. I'll help out wherever I can. My free time's a little weird right now, but I should free up soon. But all right. Thanks so much for coming on, and thanks to all the audience for coming on, and to those of you who did ask questions.
So with all that said,
is that rum?
how did you guess?
I had a feeling.
This is a bottle of Ron Mil Guanche Arejucas y las Canarias. It's from the Canary Islands. This is honey rum given to me by an old colleague and friend. And I've got
nice.
a nice special glass with a ship on it.
Nice.
This is it's also got the lines on here, which is very nautical. It's called the Plimsoll mark. You'll see it on the side of modern ships. There are draft marks. And actually, this the rum is not, but they do have it. This the glass is from the Fair Transport Tres Ombres ship, which I think is a very cool endeavor. It's a engineless sailing ship that sails from the Netherlands to the Caribbean and back as a cargo ship. They're really trying to promote, the green future by doing it the old pirate way. Thought it would be a cool thing to tell you.
Oh no, that is cool. And hey, well that's a proper way to end a Pirates Oy podcast right there. Some rum. So there you go.
Exactly. So, gentlemen, and if ever there will be ladies watching, also to you, cheers.
Cheers. Have a good day, everyone.